Hello guys, and welcome to this second video on C# fundamentals. Now today we'll be teaching one of the key features of C# programming called variables. So what are variables? Variables are like containers that carry information and has a name, a label, which states what kind of information it stores. And examples of these labels are the int label that contains whole numbers like 5, 2, 1, float labels that contains decimals like 6.5, 2, 1, which both can be positive and negative. We have the string label that gives us the ability to store text, and we also have bool labels that contains true or false values. Now before we continue, we need to know that we'll be using the Unity engine and this Microsoft Visual Studio or any other text editor that suits you. So now as you can see, I have a new project set up in Unity. Now we'll go under the project tab, under assets, and we'll create a new C# script. We're going to call these variables, and once we're done, we're going to open it up in Visual Studio. Do that by double clicking, and now Unity has presented us with some default codes which I'll explain their uses later, but for now let's go straight to the point. So now we want to create our first label of int. Give it a variable type health. Now we have finally created a health variable of type int. Now if we want to give this a default value, all we simply have to do is to click in between here, put the equal sign, and give it a default value of, let's say, 5. And now we have successfully created a health variable of type int with a default value of 5. Now the same goes for the rest. For instance, we want to create a float type of variable speed. We can also give this a default value of, let's say, 8.4f. Close that up. So since that is clear, let's start again by giving our string type of, let's say, name. We set that equals to, let's say, in this case, since it's text we're using, let's use my name. We close that up. Now, given the type of bool, we set it to give it a name of is, let's say, is running, and we set that to equals true. So now we have successfully created our 4 variables using C#. So let's explain what the gray lines are for. Now you see, before I started, we were provided with codes by Unity, and these lines with with double slashes are like comments. We just use that to create notes. It's just like creating your own notes in your C# script. Like for instance, I can just go up here and create my own note saying my 4 variables. So that's what it's basically for. It's just for us to create comments. We call it comments. We create comments in our C# script so that we can always use it as a reference. Like now, anybody who enters here will know that these are my 4 variables, since they appear directly beneath this comment. So void start, this is a function that calls at the beginning of a game. Once you start the game, this function is called at the very beginning. While void update also is also a function, and it's also called once per frame. It's called once per frame. Every single frame, like from 30 milliseconds to 60 milliseconds, is called every frame, every single frame. So now, since that is clear, I want to talk about the print function. What the print function does is that whatever you put in between the parentheses, like for instance, I create a, okay, let's do that in the start method. I create a print function, close it up with a semicolon. Anything I put in between these brackets will be printed out in the Unity console, which is slide just below here. So for instance, I can say print hey. Let's say hey, I'm right here. Once we save that, goes into new Unity, we let it to compile all the scripts. So once we have done that, we can then choose any of these components in our hierarchy. Let's say we just drag and drop this on our main camera. You see, it's already added to our main camera, and we click play. You see right here on our console, you see it reading, hey, I'm right here. So that's how print function works. Also, the print function can also be used in the update function. So we're going to cut this out and paste it right here. And like I said before, the void update calls everything every single frame. It calls it every single frame. So let's save this now. We go into Unity, wait for the system to compile everything first. This depends on your computer speed. It doesn't, on faster computers, it doesn't even take up to a second. So now let's click on play. Now we can see that if we click on collapse, we can see that it counts upwards. That means it's being called every single play. You can see from 400 to 500 times to 600 times and thereabout. Also, I want you to know that print functions can also be used to call variables of health, speed, player name, or is running. So let's test this out. We're going to put in print, open our parentheses, close that up with a semicolon, and inside our parentheses we're going to put, let's say, speed. We're going to save that, open it up in Unity. When we're done, press play. And we can see right here it prints out 8.4 float. It prints out the float function of 8.4. Puts out its value at 8. Also, we can also create some math functions. We can also calculate some math functions like 5 plus or 5 minus 2 or 3. Well, let's make it 2, which we should know. Everyone should know that 5 minus 2 gives you 3. So once we're done with that, we can also test it out in Unity. Click on play. And we see it gives us the value of 3. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so we can also use the plus function, the plus sign, the multiplication sign, and the division sign to print out math functions. And we should also note that we can also, like how we added math function, we can also create like sentences. For instance, we put print, we put in quotation marks and say my name is, then we go over here and add the plus sign, then we add the string type of player name, then we add player name. And once we save this, go into Unity, once it's done compiling, we click on play. And you see it prints out my name is Tolu. Wow! So I guess we have finally learned how we can use our print function to call in variables, to call in math values, and to also create like statements. So we should also know that variable values can also change per time. Like for instance, health can change. Let's say when the player is in the game and he gets damaged, it can change from 5 to let's say 4. His health value can change from 5 to 4. It changes based on how we code our script. Okay, so let's say if we want to test this out, let's return this back to 5. Go into our start function. Let's comment this print. Mind you, this double slash can also be used to nullify a code. Whenever you put it in front of a code, it nullifies it, so it means it doesn't work anymore. So let's start by creating a health variable. Create a health variable, set it to equals 4, and then we open our print function, open our parentheses, put in health, close that up with a semicolon. Now, since we have put this in our void start calls at the beginning of the game. Whenever you start a game, it calls at the beginning. It forgets everything else and calls this first. So it won't read this, it will read this. So let's test it out in Unity. Let's test it out. Wait for it to compile. So click on play. You see it prints out 4 because we have set it in our void start function and forgets everything else and prints this out first. Now, before we go, let me elaborate more on variables. These 4 variables I have here. Like you can see, I have the int label, the float label, the string label, and the bool label. These labels tells my variable what kind of value they can contain. Like you see them here. The int label tells the health variable it can carry a numeric value of 5, and it can either be positive or negative. The float label tells my speed variable it can carry a value of decimal numbers represented by the letter F, which states that is a float variable which can also be positive or negative. The string label tells my player name variable that it can carry only values of text in quotation marks, in double quotation marks. And bool label tells my isRunning variable that it can only carry values of either true or false. And once they are being called under this class, once they are being called under the public class, there is no need for you to call the labels anymore in your C# script. There's no need for you to call it anymore in your C# script. Like you can see right here, there's no need for me to call it anymore. For instance, if I remove it from, let's say I remove the int from here, you can see it gives me this red line which states that it's an error. It doesn't know what it is. So until I give it a label before it can read it, and once you have given it a label up here, there's no need for you to call a label down here anymore. You can just call the variable straight head on and you have a working code. Alright guys, that states the end of this episode. So if you have questions, suggestions, please comment down below. The next video will be out by next week, so please subscribe, turn on notifications to see more game development content, and like if you have learned something in this video. Enjoy!